If you've been at Converge before, you'll know that we're very slowly working our way through the book of Acts. This is like the series that's going to go on for like a really long number of years because we do the math, 4 chapters a year times 24 chapters, I think, in Acts. So we'll be here for half of a decade. I was thinking about that summer and all the adventures that she had. And after that, of course, we carried on to Mare Lake, and she learned to kayak, and she went tubing behind a boat. Did quite a few things that normally, for a little girl who's quite anxious, you would think, how does one pull off that kind of an adventure? And I was thinking, if you would have asked her before we started, you're only 5. Just how do you think you're going to get all the way to Revelstoke? You don't drive, you don't have any money, you don't know which way is west. All of those things. You're scared. You're scared all the time. How do you think you're going to have all of these adventures? I would bet that she would say, I have no idea. You have no idea. She's a child, right? She's a 5-year-old girl. But if you would have asked her after, how is it that you had this whole summer of adventure and that you were so brave? I would be willing to bet if she gave it some thought, there's probably only one thing she would say, and that would be, I was with my dad. He told me to get in the truck, so I did. He told me to get out of the truck, so I did. He told me to get in the gondola, so I did. We went up the mountain. He said, get off, so I did. He said, get on, so I did. He said, go, so I did. And just by being in the presence of her father and saying yes to his promptings, landed her in this situation that she herself, as a 5-year-old girl with nothing to her name, could have ever made happen. So I think about that. I think about that word boldness. And if you turn in your Bibles tonight to Acts chapter 4, you're going to find that same word, where you just know, right? Because you know the person so well, because you've spent so much time with them, you've had so much conversation back and forth, you just start to know this is the kind of thing he would say. This is the kind of thing he would do. This is the kind of thing he would ask of me, because it's consistent with who he is. Okay? And I think the more you spend time with Jesus, the more you spend time in his word, the more you get to know his voice. So when you think, I'm not really exactly sure, but I think God's saying no, or he's saying yes, or he's saying don't do that, then you begin to recognize, and that's how you get to know that it's his voice. So you're like, yeah, I know I repented, but I feel like I'm supposed to kind of have a handle on it by now. So instead of confessing and repenting, I'm just going to try harder. I'm going to try harder, and then when I don't achieve, I'm going to feel guilty, and then when I feel guilty, I'm just going to hide, because who wants to feel guilty? And then you just go around and around and around, instead of just saying, I blew it. I dropped the ball again. I didn't seek you first again. I was impatient with my kids again. And in that, confessing sin to him and letting him just say, I know. That's why I came. And that's why I died. Because as much as you think one day you're going to be here, I knew all along. It was never going to be enough. And that's why I sent my son. And if you become like my daughter would have, if somebody said, well, just how are you going to get to Revelstoke? How are you going to pay? When we get stuck in that conversation, instead of, it doesn't matter because I'm not the one driving. He's with me. And if he takes me to it, he'll bring me through it. If he calls me to it, he'll equip me for it. Right? Instead of, well, you know what, I'm just going to sit here in the driveway just for a couple minutes and try to iron out some of these details. And I'm not saying there's not a time and place for details, but there's a time where it's just time to start driving. Just time to start driving. It's time to go. Because this is what happens. Your GPS, it's like, in 500 meters, turn left. And if you take a wrong turn, guess what? The GPS doesn't get mad at you. Guess what it says? Recalculating. Make a U-turn. You're like, they're so kind. Everyone else isn't that kind when I get lost. Hey? But that's what we have to do in this life. We gotta spend time with him. We gotta talk to him. We gotta trust him. And so at some point, we just gotta get in the car and start driving, trusting that along the way, he's going to steer me. He's going to give me what I need. He's going to provide all of those things.